looked at potentially doing like boot camps outdoors, and then obviously come Monday, that was gone as well. So it was like,
yeah.
Oh shit!
I did exactly the same thing. It's like, right, okay, this is fine. We'll just stop all the group stuff. We'll go outside in the parks. It'll be lovely. The weather's coming in, and then it was like, I can't do that either. Great.
Yeah.
Scramble to do stuff online.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it's a completely different kettle of fish, isn't it, really? Training people online. And really,
but
really
it's also amazing how quickly we've all learnt the technology and picked everything up.
I'm just going to post this link in the group. Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm quite techie anyway, so it's been quite easy for me, I suppose, in that respect. But I'm not one for video. I've never been one for sort of filming myself doing training routines and that type of thing. I've always been quite away from the camera.
Yeah.
So to do that, it's been, which sounds strange because I'll stand up in front of a class and do a routine, no problem, because that's my domain. But then the public speaking thing feels different. So I get a bit nervous, get everything else. I'm quite an introvert in that respect. Yeah. So to put yourself out there on a video when you can see yourself, that's, I think,
much harder, isn't it?
You can see yourself doing it, and then obviously you've got to listen to it back to make sure it's all worked before you sort of post it or whatever. So
I was exactly the same. So, like you, I'm very much an introvert, very quiet, don't like large groups of people.
Yeah.
So always struggled, and for ages I hated doing videos. Just hated doing it because it's, for me, I need that kind of feedback.
Well, that's what we did, didn't we? Mark Whitehand's, that's where we sort of met up.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Years ago, about using video to complement the business. And even though I did that workshop, I still haven't really embraced it too much.
Yeah. For me, I need to see feedback. I need to see someone's face, make sure that someone's connecting, and just making sure things are landing. And I think when you shoot like a selfie style video, it's so hard to do because I've run out of, I don't necessarily run out of steam, but I lose track of where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this sort of the Zoom idea of teaching classes and things, I think that works a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because you are getting that feedback throughout the class. Whereas if I was to do a Facebook Live and try and teach when you couldn't see someone, that would be a lot harder, I believe.
Absolutely. I've got to say, I'm so impressed with like what you've done here. This group is brilliant.
It's gone a lot.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's blown up really well. I mean, it's been great for us. Like I say, me, James, and Dave, we essentially had our business stopped, which a lot of PTs have done the same. So it was kind of what do we do? Where do we go from here? And as much for our own sanity, obviously we need to create a business as well, but to give us that routine of getting up, having a set time, because I normally teach 7 or 8 classes a week. Yeah. And the other guys are the same. So that's on top of the one-to-one clients, shifts and all that type of thing. So to go from that to nothing, when yourself.
But this is one of the things we'll talk about today is the essential need to create a routine and to stick to structure and to have levels of commitments and places you've got to be and people you've got to speak to keep sane.
Yeah.
Without it, just you become this like walking zombie. He just wakes up for a bit and then goes to sleep for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I'm the worst guy in the world in terms of I can procrastinate. So I find, I was going to post this link in the group, but I find that on my design work and anything that I do on the laptop, I tend to take my laptop to the gym and sit on the gym floor at a desk. Because it's giving me that presence on the gym floor, but also I find that because I'm physically going somewhere to do the work, I get it done more.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm sat at home, it's easy to get distracted.
Yeah, you're going to go, I'll just hoover or I'll just do something. Yeah. Even if it doesn't need doing, it's just to put things off and to procrastinate and delay it. Yeah.
I've got a dog as well, so he's always in and out and distracting me. Drop this link in the group, see if anyone else wants to join us. recording it anyway, so anyone can watch it back.
Cool.
I've got a couple of questions from Dave and bits and pieces, so we've got a little bit to lead on with.
Yeah, I had some questions later on as well. So yeah, I had someone sent me through last night saying, could we answer this question but do it anonymously? So it's a bit self-conscious, which is fine. I'm absolutely cool with that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, do you want to start with a bit about you, what you do, and then?
Yeah. Okay. So I started in health and fitness. This is where I would show my age. In 1998, got my first qualification in '98. So what? I mean, what?
I was 20 in the fitness world.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? It's so different back then. You know, fitness back then was so completely different to what it is now. So it's what, 22, 23 years of doing this. You know, very much a traditional PT to start with. Harder, faster, stronger workouts. Here's a meal plan. Go away, do this. Gradually was trying to get more intrigued as to why people weren't sticking to it. You know, their kid would be off sick, and everything would be put on hold, or they go on a holiday, or work got busy. So they know what to do, but it's like they're just not doing it.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's from like a rehab perspective, someone comes in with a bad knee, right? Go away and do these 5 things. Give it 2 weeks, and your knee will be ripe as rain. Come back 2 weeks later. How's your knee? Oh, it still really hurts. Yeah. Did you do those exercises? No, I meant to, but kind of ran out of time. Little Timmy got sick. Work got busy. I thought I'd do it on Thursday, but then like so then my interest all became, okay, what's getting in the way of people doing the stuff that they know is going to help them? Mm-hmm. You know, we all know what to eat. We all know how to exercise, and to exercise regularly and to do what we need to do. We all know to de-stress, to get decent sleep. There's nothing that people don't know enough to at least get started, right? Yeah. But there's always something that gets in the way. And really, for me, it's the biggest thing is stress. It drops your energy, interrupts your sleep. You comfort eat. You just want to hide on the sofa. So for the past maybe 9-10 years, my interest has really been around helping people manage stress.
Right.
Both how they can make their exercise and their fitness stress-free, their nutrition stress-free. So it's always been leaning towards training and diet and nutrition and
they go hand in hand. That's the thing. It's, you've got to have that mental awareness alongside. Because like you say, if you're not focused on doing it and achieving it, you're not going to stick to it.
Exactly.
I must admit, with the way that I program for clients now, I'm a lot less structured in terms of diet and things like that. I work out calories, say this is where your target is, try and get as close to that as possible, and keep it simple. Because if you give them the best plan in the world, they'll maybe stick to it for 3 or 4 days, but then, like you say, something else will get in the way. If they've got a bit of flexibility within there, it's real world, it's real life, and it's more sustainable.
Yeah, because like stuff is always going to happen. There's always going to be something that gets in the way. Particularly now, you know, your gym is going to be closed. You can't do your regular class. You can't shop as normal. But what do you still do? And there's still plenty that you can still do. You don't have to have this complete stress meltdown and panic to get through each day. There's still stuff you can proactively do so that you can still make gains, still make loads and loads of progress without beating yourself up. So that's really where I kind of focus on now, is how can we de-stress people, create more energy so that when you do exercise, you can exercise that much harder.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy it. You're not clock watching for the entire time, dreading the moment where someone says, right now we're doing burpees. Oh God, really? Yes, we go, all right, let's do it. Let's go for it. Oh, you've disappeared. Where have you gone? Oh, yeah. So yeah, so really for me, it's based around stress. And what I want to do is to find out what people's triggers are, and then really give some coping mechanisms for how we can overcome them, so that you have more clarity, have more confidence, more energy, more time, more self-belief to do the stuff that we all know will help.
Perfect.
Does that make sense? So that's where my week takes me.
Yeah, I'll just grab 2 seconds. Got a couple of questions. Yeah. The first one from Dave was about routine. We've touched on it briefly anyway. So how important do you think it is to get, especially now, because obviously everyone's routine's been thrown out the window.
Yeah.
How important is it to try and maintain some element of structure with your day?
Very. So for me, one of the big things is about planning, knowing what you want to get done that day, keeping it small and simple. Again, there's no point having a big 20 things to do on a list and doing one of them because the rest are too overwhelming. It's about keeping things simple, having some structure, but being flexible with it. What I tend to do personally is to break the day into kind of 3-hour chunks. So 3 hours for me is about where my attention can be maintained. After about 3 hours, I start to flag a little bit and fatigue physically and mentally. So for me, it's like, right, between 9 and 12, what do I want to do? Between 12 and 3, what do I want to do? So I kind of will split my day up in like 4 3-hour chunks.
Right. And then do you take time out in between to sort of decompress, I suppose? And
yeah, absolutely. But also within those 3-hour chunks, I'm looking at balance and contrast. So for me, there's like 3 things that we kind of play off against each other to create contrast. Now, our brains, from like a neuroscience perspective, need to have novelty and new experiences in order to feel good. And a lot of times we'll comfort eat or we'll veg out on the sofa simply because we're bored and our brains haven't got that new experience. So if we go into like brain chemistry. So was that?
All the time, I am reaching for snacks and bits and pieces because it's accessible.
Yeah.
It is.
We're
easy.
not hungry.
No.
We're just bored, and your brain is craving a substance called dopamine. So dopamine is your real like goal-getting, pleasure-seeking hormone. When you've got loads of dopamine, you feel really driven, really motivated. And when you've got low dopamine, that's when you just can't be bothered. You just veg up through the day, can't be asked to move off the sofa, eat the quickest, easiest, most satisfying thing you can grab because you can't be bothered. So that's a real clear sign that you've got low dopamine. So you can raise your dopamine by having more variety. Variety is one of our key emotional needs. We can probably cover those later on. There's like 6 main needs that we need to satisfy each and every day. Right. Novelty and variety is one of the key ones. So for me, I want to be thinking about how can I create novelty? Right now, we're all bored. We're all stuck in our houses. We're allowed out for an hour, and most of us are just simply bored, and there isn't that novelty. We can't go and see people. We can't go to pubs, restaurants, coffee shops, even go to work. So we're just stuck in one place, getting cabin fever. Yeah. So if we know that we need novelty, how can we create it? How can we make the best of a bad situation? So for me, so there's like 3 things that we can then create multiple variations of. So first off, and this sounds so ridiculously simple, but it really, really works, is first pairing is indoors and outdoors. So if you've been indoors for too long, get outdoors. There's your first bit of variation and novelty there. We're then looking at physical and mental. So if you've been indoors catching up on your accounts, that's how you know you're bored, when your accounts is your best option, right?
Yeah, when you start to turn
bored, I need to do my accounts. So if you've been indoors doing intellectual kind of worky based stuff, to get that novelty, go outside and do something playful. And your brain will really love it. But then also we can then balance up creativity and logic as being another thing. So we've now got 3 variations. So 3 times 3 times 3 of different things that you can do through your day to create that variety. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we just say, if we've been indoors, doing something logical and intellectual, like doing your accounts, if you can then get outdoors, do something creative and playful, your brain's getting that complete contrast between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, then go back indoors and do something indoors and productive, like a DIY project. So you're creating these little pockets of contrast right the way throughout the day.
Yeah.
That then gives your brain that much needed dopamine, which is one of the key neurotransmitters, brain chemicals that you need in order to feel good.
Got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
So from a brain perspective, we say we need dopamine. That's your like novelty seeking, pleasure seeking hormone. We also need one called serotonin, which is your like feel good hormone, and one called oxytocin, which is your like kind of love, trust, bonding. So when you have all three of those hormones flying around your system, you feel motivated, you feel upbeat, you feel really good. When you're missing those three, or any variations of those three, that's when your mood drops and you become stressed.
Right, makes sense.
And then your body will then release adrenaline and cortisol, which are our counterproductive stress hormones. So those kind of two groups of hormones work as opposing pairs. You tend to either have one group or the other. So if you haven't got the feel good ones, you have the feel shit ones. Yeah. All of our behaviors, particularly when it comes to comfort eating, inactivity, all the stuff which we know isn't healthy, but we still do it anyway, is an attempt to create those feel-good hormones.
Yeah.
So when you're binge eating on a cheesecake or a packet of biscuits or a bottle of wine, it's to create a feeling of serotonin.
Yeah.
But because it's such a poor coping strategy, it doesn't last long, which is why you've then got to do it again half an hour later, because you've run out of serotonin.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So it's then the opposite side to that is then the like two main stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Now they basically get our bodies ready to interact with the environment around us. So our brain perceives a threat or a stress or something that could potentially harm us. We have to then get our bodies primed and ready for action. So we then release adrenaline and cortisol to get us in this hyped up state in order that we can deal with the problem. And we deal with the problem in one of three ways. So any kind of stress response will ultimately boil down to one of three things. We'll either fight, run, or hide. So every negative behavior will boil down to one of those three things. So if you're getting irritated with your partner or frustrated with the situation, that's more of a fight response. Your kind of body's getting you ready to physically protect and defend yourself by having a fist fight and to get into a scrap. And then you get things like tight shoulders, upper body issues, because your body is primed for a fight, but you don't do it. So it's that prolonged exposure to adrenaline and cortisol that causes issues. The flight response is when you feel that you're not good enough. It's when you feel that you need to escape from something. And that's where you kind of literally want to run away. And then you see things with that, with people who live for the weekend, who jump from job to job, relationship to relationship, who can't stick at something, is a flight response. And then a freeze response is where you can't make your mind up. So like a deer in headlights, you can't decide whether to go left or right. So you just freeze in the middle of the road. Yeah. Now with us and our behavior, that means that we put things off until Monday. I'll wait until payday. I'll wait until all this panic is over. I'll wait until things go back to normal.
Yeah.
It's still a stress response and your body is still reacting in the same way. And it keeps you stressed by keeping pumping out that adrenaline and cortisol in order to keep you alert to deal with a potential threat to your safety.
Yeah, it's that react.
And if you, it's that kind of fight flight. And if you've got adrenaline and cortisol, you can't have the dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin that make you feel good.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is where a lot of people kind of struggle with their food, because they feel stressed. They'll resort to food to produce that serotonin, but they know they're on a diet. So now I've got to use willpower to not do it. I've got to try really hard not to go in the fridge. But they're using the food to create the solution.
Yeah.
So now you've doubled the problem. You've kind of cut your finger. You've gone, I know there's a plaster over there. I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to wait until my finger heals. I'm just going to wait. So we then have to kind of figure out, how can we use a better plaster? How can we heal quicker? Mm-hmm. That's not going to use the food. And this is where we then need to think about, okay, what do our brains really, really need? And where the emotional needs come in. So I've completely stolen this from Tony Robbins. So I'm taking no credit for this whatsoever. Why reinvent the wheel? This completely works. So there's like 6 emotional needs that we all have to have all day, every day, in order to not feel in that stress system. And each of us has different amounts of each one that we need, and they come in different orders. But we all need to have all 6. So we all need to have a sense of certainty. That's one of the first ones. So we need to know what we're doing. We need to know how things are working, so we can predict to things and we can respond to things and know what the likely outcome will be. So even though we know that eating half the cheesecake isn't going to do us any good, we know that for the time we're eating it, we're going to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
So in that moment, there's a high degree of certainty. We know when we drink half a bottle of wine, how we're going to feel. We're certain we're going to feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. Make sense? So that's why routine is so key. When you have routine, you don't then need to resort to unhealthy coping strategies in order to get that certainty.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's expected on.
Exactly. Your like brain can predict what's coming. Again, if we kind of come back to those 3 responses, fight, flight, freeze, say you were in an actual fight, but you knew exactly the pattern the person you're fighting is going to be throwing at you, mm-hmm. You can move and dodge every time.
Yeah. Because
it's really, really predictable. The second need we go through is novelty and variety. So again, the slight paradox is obviously those 2 are opposite. So as much as needing to have things set and a routine, we need to have new experiences as well. Mm-hmm. I say for people that this is trying new recipes, trying new workouts. That again will satisfy that need for variety. A lot of us struggle because we don't get that variety.
No.
You spend all day on a screen.
Yeah.
Then you drive home and you spend all evening looking at screens.
Yeah.
So you don't have that variety. Your brain is just stuck in this, again, Groundhog Day that we're all in right now. So if we create that variety by doing what we said just now about getting indoors, outdoors, mixing up practical stuff with intellectual stuff, your brain is then satisfied. So again, it doesn't need to have the unhelpful measures to create that need.
Yeah.
Make sense so far?
Yeah. Yeah, you're not turning to other things to try and replace it because you've already got it.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's everything that we know we shouldn't be doing is at some level fulfilling at least one of these needs that we're going through. Generally, if you have an addiction and you find it really hard to give something up, it's probably satisfying at least 3 of these needs. And if you know what they are, you can fulfill them in different ways. So we've got certainty, we've got variety, we've then got significance. So the need to be noticed, valued, respected, to be important. Again, we all have that need, and we also have a need for connection, to feel part of something, to feel that we're part of a team. And this is why the stuff that you do is brilliant, because it maintains that high level of connection.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things we were looking to create, was that whole community aspect, like the gym environment, because I actually went back to Pure Gym. Like I said, I've been in fitness a long time, and I started working at Pure Gym about 3 years ago now, because I missed that gym floor. I missed walking around the gym floor, interacting with members on a different level. Obviously, I was still working one-to-one with clients, but you know yourself, working one-to-one is different to having colleagues, different to having just general members and normal chats, as opposed to that paid client relationship. So that's why I sort of went back to there, because I missed the class environment and the amount of people, I suppose, the interaction that you get. So one-to-one can be quite lonely if you are literally just working with a set number of clients per week.
Exactly. So if we take it back a couple of steps, before we said about novelty, in that situation, you weren't getting that second need for new experiences. It's the same people week in, week out. When you're in that gym environment, or in the environment that you guys have like brilliantly created here, you've got that new experience. You've got different people, different ways of looking at things, different fitness levels, and that novelty feeds into that connection. Now, it's like, you know, there's 1,001 apps out now, aren't there? Everyone's doing fitness apps, and there's millions of YouTube stuff, and there's millions of stuff on Facebook and Instagram, and there's no shortage of ways of exercise and training.
No.
But what you're not getting with the YouTube stuff is that connection.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of people just don't stick at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may be the exact same workout that you're doing, right? If possibly could be.
Yeah.
But what the like YouTube one is lacking is the real human connection. So generally stuff with apps and the YouTube stuff and the like pre-recorded video stuff is you don't get that interaction. And you can force yourself to do it for a week or so, but generally won't last anywhere near as long as a live face-to-face where you can see somebody. Yeah,
you're getting that feedback live, aren't you? That's the thing as well.
Yeah.
So
and it's a real need,
right? And it's that accountability as well.
Yeah, it's a real need for that connection.
Yeah.
And again, that's really, you know, when we talk about like, you know, accountability, what we're really talking about is somebody giving me connection and making me significant.
Yeah.
Have you done the thing you said you were going to do last week?
Yeah.
Right. There's two of your needs satisfied straight away just by someone saying, "How's your week been?"
Yeah.
So we've got certainty, we've got variety, we've got significance, we've got connection. There's also growth. So needing to see progress, development. Again, when we don't have that growth, we feel very stuck, frustrated. Again, if you're in a job that's not going anywhere, that's a major cause of stress.
Yeah.
And then the final one is contribution, giving back, that kind of charitable, again, doing things without the need for reward. Again, that's a really important need that we have. And now more than ever, you're seeing that come out all the way across the nation. And it's so nice. It's so heartwarming, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
it's
when you have that kind of
something like this to do that, but yeah, it is. Yeah. I know. I mean, obviously, in the circles that sort of we run in, there's some very, very intelligent guys, and they're giving away thousands of pounds worth of courses and different bits and pieces, purely to give people an opportunity to do that growth, I suppose.
Yeah, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
When you do that kind of good deed, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And because you feel good, you've got loads of that serotonin hormone going out. Now, if your body's flooded with serotonin, you don't need to resort to the bottle of wine and the cheesecake to get more of it. Yeah. Because you've already got enough.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
So once we know and can understand what those 6 needs are, we can then begin to look at what our behaviors are doing and why we do certain things, like raid the fridge when we know we shouldn't, sit on the sofa when we should be exercising, procrastinate. It's all fulfilling at least one, if not more, of those needs. So the tactic for any kind of stress management is to, how can we create those needs and satisfy them in the healthiest, easiest, simplest way possible.
Give me 2 seconds, just let the dog out. Scratching at the door.
Is he howling? Is all this making sense so far for people watching? I really hope so. Now we've got a couple of people on live, so I hope this is making sense.
Get them so they can chime in if they need to.
But I think, the main thing right now is to kind of go, right, how can we create those needs? So obviously right now, life isn't certain by any means. If we look at everything that's going on, one of the biggest things that we're lacking is certainty. So as a tactic for managing our own energy, how can we create that certainty? What is stable? What can you control? Now, we can't control what Matt Hancock or Boris Johnson tell us to do, but we can control our own behaviors and our own reactions to stuff. So we can create that certainty within our own mindset.
Yeah.
Same with variety. We've got complete control. Although we're stuck at home, we can still control what we do, how we approach things, how we structure our day to create that variety. We can create connection by making more comments on social media, phoning more people, checking in with people who you haven't seen for a while. It all gives you those needs. And I say it's when you can give them in a healthy way, you then don't need to resort to the unhealthy way to do it.
I must admit, I think this whole situation has probably opened up lines of communication with people that you've not for any real reason, but just not really made that choice to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life gets in the way, weeks fly by. I mean, I know my best friend, we can go months without speaking to each other.
Yeah.
And then we check in with each other, and it's like we spoke last week. We've got that sort of friendship, and we always have had. But I think there's other friends probably on my friends list that I've never spoken to for years, even, that you can probably open up a conversation line because we're all in the same situation.
Now, it's a great leveler, this.
Yeah.
Although it's shitty, it's a great leveler.
Yeah.
It's we're all in it the same. We all need the same things. And yeah, just a Facebook message from someone who you've not spoken to for 2 years.
Yeah.
Makes you feel good and makes them feel good too. To really boost that connection and give you that someone new to talk to. My mum and dad, they're both in their early 80s and they're FaceTiming every day. It's incredible.
Yeah.
A month ago, they couldn't even text.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they're kind of FaceTiming and they're setting up like little Zoom meetings with all their friends. It's brilliant. It's utterly brilliant. Is this making sense so far?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got more questions from the guys, but I mean, we're on the sort of right lines.
Yeah.
We've got.
So we think about what stress is, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's about a story that we tell. So me and you can both experience the same situation. Mm-hmm. We've had this with my website where I'm stressing out about it because I can't figure something out.
Yeah.
And then you can go, we'll just do that and that.
Yeah.
We're both experiencing the same problem, but we're telling a different story.
Yeah. So
for me, the first part of stress is about working out what that story is. And to me, that's that kind of three things. So it's what's the event that's happened? How are you perceiving what has happened or is happening? Are you seeing it as a big global meltdown, or are you seeing it as a way of the world resetting itself? Either way, it's a story.
Yeah.
It's a story that you're saying. It's a perception of an event. Somebody may have, I had this last year doing a corporate workshop. It was split into 3 sections, so 3-hour sections. And for the first hour, this woman on the second row was just glaring at me, like real frowny, and just looked like she wanted to kill me. And it kind of threw me off a little bit. So I was like, oh God, she hates me. She thinks what I'm talking is rubbish. Oh God, this is going to be a long day. She saw me in the break and went, I'm out to the toilet if I'm frowning. I've forgot my glasses and I can't hear very well. I'm trying to lip read you.
Right. Yeah. So it was your perception.
Yeah. So my initial perception was, oh God, she hates me. She's gonna be really. When we get to questions, she's gonna lay right into me. But the reality was, she couldn't hear what I was saying.
Yeah.
So that story of the perception about what's happening shapes whether or not you get stressed by it. It's then the meaning we give to things. Okay, so say she was frowning at me and hating what I was saying. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean I'm a bad person? Does it mean I'm crap at my job? No, it just means that we've not connected yet.
Yeah.
We're not on the same page. It's a different meaning. And the third part is then about our ability to deal with the stress. So are we good enough to cope with it? Mm-hmm. So when I have a meltdown about my website, it's like, I can't do this. It's too complicated. You look at it and go, I completely know what I'm doing. No stress. Different levels of perceived ability determine the levels of stress. So what will stress me out doesn't stress you out.
Yeah.
So when we can tell a different story, we then change how we perceive stress. Yeah. The next thing is then about how we perceive threat. Now, again, when we massively simplify things down, stress happens for one of three reasons. And again, most of our stories fit into one of these three things. And that's something happening too fast, something happening too slow, or something being very unclear. If we think about road rage as a typical example of where people get stressed quite easily, if somebody's driving up your bumper, they're driving too fast. If the person in front of you is out for a little Sunday drive, they're driving too slow. If somebody cuts you up, where are they going? It's unclear. So again, it's working out, actually, when it boils down to it, what is this stress? Is it things happening too fast, too slow, or unclear? Now, right now, things are happening really slow. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening.
It was a combination of both, wasn't it? It started off fast, because all of a sudden this is happening now. And then now it's gone to the opposite end of the scale where, right, we just need it to be over. Yeah.
And also, why are we doing this? Why are we doing things different to Germany or Sweden or Australia? Or it's that level of lack of clarity causes stress.
Yeah.
So then again, we can think, okay, what is it that's happening? The solution is then, well, I then need to do the opposite. So if things are happening too fast, the answer can only be to slow things down. So if you're driving too fast for the car in front of you and there's a mismatch there, the only thing you can do is to slow yourself down. If the person behind you is driving millimeters from your bumper, well, you can either speed up or pull over and let them pass. It's about matching up the speed. And if you're not sure about something, you find out. You ask a question. You try and learn a bit more about why things are happening. So if you don't understand why you're getting stressed, you need to learn about stress. You need to learn, okay, well, why is that person doing that? Because all of us are doing things with the best intention. 99% of us do things as best we can at the time. There's the 1% who are psychopaths and sociopaths, but most of us are just trying to do the best we can given the skills and the tools we got. So most people's intentions are positive. So then you can say, okay, so how does this person see things? So if you can develop a level of curiosity and intrigue, okay, well, why are Germany doing things different to us? What do they see that we don't, or vice versa? And what's the other side of the story? That can give you the clarity. A lot of times with food and nutrition, it's like, well, why can't I do that? If we think about some certain, won't name any names, but it won't take you to figure out this. If you're not allowed to eat red meat on a Tuesday, or combine it with something else, well, why not?
Yeah.
Why can't I eat chicken on a Tuesday, but I can on a Monday?
Yeah. It's
that lack of clarity means that we're going to revert back to fight, flight, freeze.
Yeah.
But when it will normally be freeze. I'll put it off. I'll start again next month. I'll wait till the kids have left home. I'll wait till the kids have started school. I'll wait till I win the lottery. Yeah. Often it's a lack of clarity. So again, you find that you probably find the same. People who do the best with fitness and nutrition are the ones who understand it the most.
Yeah. I think that's part of the issue is, particularly with fitness and nutrition, is you're bombarded with, this is the right way, this is the right way, this is the right way. And if you don't do your due diligence or research, you don't understand that there isn't a right way. It's what works for you.
It's what works for you. It's what you can stick to. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
weight loss isn't about. Yeah. Weight loss isn't about whether or not you need to be in a calorie deficit. If you want to lose weight, you've got to be in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
The actual debate is, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Consistently, long term, in a way that's not punishing or restrictive.
Yeah.
It's how can you do it and stick to it.
Yeah.
And it's so that's the debate, and you get clarity over that. And if you can then match that to your personality, then you're onto a winner. So again, one of the other causes of stress is when we're out of alignment with our beliefs. And like you just rightly said, there are millions of ways of doing things. Yeah. There's thousands of ways of training, thousands of diet plans. Whether or not you'll stick to it depends on whether or not it suits your personality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there's a personal training industry.
Yeah.
Because we're matching it to you. So if we know what our personality is and what our preferences are, what our beliefs, our values, and our preferences, I said preferences already. If we know what makes us tick, we can then decide to shape what we do. So for me, I really value freedom, choices, options, kind of being quite intuitive and going with the flow.
Yeah.
So going to a CrossFit box where I'm getting told I've got to do 100 wall balls and 100 burpees, I'm like, and choose my language because I don't know your audience, but I would rather not. I'm not going to do it.
No.
But give me some kettlebells and some ideas about what I could do. I'll stick to it. Let me go mountain biking or trail running or climbing where I've got unlimited freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It's every day.
Yeah. I must admit, over the years, I've changed my own training to much the same. I used to have a structured plan, right? I'm doing sets of this, 8, 10, 12, whatever. And then it got to the point where it becomes a slog. For me personally, it's I don't feel up to that today. And then you don't put the effort in and everything else. Whereas now, because I've got the experience behind me, I'll go in and have a structure of how I'll split my days up and etc. But if I start on a bench press, for example, and I lift a certain weight and it feels heavy that day, I'll then adapt the routine and maybe drop the weight back but do more reps. Or if I'm feeling particularly strong, I'll push it and go higher. And I train that way rather than having a number written down that I have to achieve. Because that's me putting that stress on me to, if I don't achieve, then I've failed. Yeah.
And I think with that, if we come back to those emotional needs, because you've got the certainty that you know what's best for you.
Yeah.
You know, okay, this isn't feeling good today. I can do this, or this instead.
Yeah.
So for you, it's very easy to adapt and get that, again, that novelty of, okay, bench pressing isn't working today. Let's switch to this instead.
Yeah.
I can get the same result, but now I've got freedom. I've got choices. I've got options.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tailor it to how I feel today.
Yeah.
How did we get onto that? Where did that one start? Backtracking. Personality. That's what we're saying. If you can stick to it, it matches your personality. So yeah, and then also, you know, some people are very kind of left brain and very logical and analytical and scientific. Others are very right brain and creative and like free flowing. Now, if you're a kind of a right brain creative type, tracking your macros and writing everything down meticulously isn't going to work for you.
No.
If you're a left brain and you love analysis and being organized and that structure and that certainty, then keeping a food diary is going to be straightforward for you.
Yeah.
You can really easily stick to it. But if there's that mismatch between who you are and what you're trying to do, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And again, that's where the whole like personal side of things through, whether it's personal training, coaching, mentoring, whatever it is you're doing, if you're good at it, you're looking at someone's personality and matching what they're doing. And if it feels effortless and someone's sticking to it, no problem, you know you've nailed it.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do a plan and every week you're just sucking at it and it's just going, oh man, I screwed that up again, you know at some level it's misaligned with your personality. There's a conflict somewhere between what you believe and what you want and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like driving the car with the handbrake on.
Yeah.
You'll go, but there'll be a lot of smoke coming out the back and you're going to burn something out pretty quick.
Yeah.
But if everything
won't last for very long.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's going to just burn out, whether that's physical or mental, emotional. It's something that's going to give up at some point.
Yeah. So,
what else are we going to talk about? I'm quite aware not to talk too much today. I don't want to stress people out. That's the paradox of this. I don't want to bombard people with information.
I suppose we can merge a couple of these together, really. What are the red flag warnings about stress taking a hold, and sort of how would you overcome them and cope with that aspect, I suppose? Particularly, like, obviously now people are stressed about worrying about the jobs, etc., etc. Because everything's up in the air, and realistically, I've no idea of when the gym's going to be open again. So I'm thinking down the line of it could be months.
Yeah.
So I've then got to do other things to compensate for that. So I suppose it's how do you stop that from overwhelming you and take them action steps that you need to do?
That's an awesome question. Right? So physically, stress is going to show itself. The like classic symptoms are going to be things like elevated heart rate. You can feel your pulse racing, shortness of breath, feeling panicky, on edge, overthinking, worrying, dwelling on things. Again, when we really can, apologies for really simplifying this down to real basic levels, but basically what it's trying to get you to do is to move. It's getting your body ready for action. So the first thing to do is when you feel stressed, is to move. Is just to do something. Don't just sit on the sofa. Don't just lie in bed. Get up and move. Your body is trying to get you to move. It's trying to get you to either have a fight, run away, or hide. Now, to be clear, I am not saying have a fight. Not saying have a fight. Don't do it. Well, Gray told me on this webinar that the best thing for stress is to go and punch someone in the face. No. Don't do it.
That was frustrating. It's fine.
But it's to kind of recognize that that's your emotion, not to fight it. Again, a lot of us, guys especially, will suppress those emotions. So we'll get angry, uptight, frustrated, and we've been taught to hold it in.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of that British stiff upper lip, don't show anything. So the first step to it is just to be honest and truthful with yourself. Right now, I feel really pissed off and angry and frustrated. Mm-hmm. Actually express how you're feeling. Doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you're saying, right now, I'm not at my best. I'm in a part of my brain that's more concerned with protection than it is development.
Yeah.
And it's trying to preserve what I've got. And it's trying to do that by creating this fight response, this fight reaction. So if you can actually identify what it is, express it, whether you write it down, even just saying it to yourself is a huge part of actually regulating your stress response.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel,
you're showing yourself that this is what is happening. So
yeah, it's being truthful.
Yeah,
it's being truthful. When we come back to those, remember there's like 3 key hormones we have: dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. Oxytocin is a hormone that gets released when we have a high level of trust.
Yeah.
So it's why new mothers are flooded with it, to create that connection. When you've just got married, that feeling you get where nothing's different, but you just feel secure. That's oxytocin. It's just that kind of feeling. Sorry for being technical, but it's when you just feel snugly. If you're not honest with yourself about what's going on, you can't trust yourself. When you're honest and you can express what's going on, you actually bizarrely then produce more oxytocin. So you're increasing the trust you have in you to be truthful and honest and open and authentic. So again, it does make you feel good.
Yeah,
it's bizarre. It's again, it sounds ridiculous, but it really works. So you have to express how you're feeling. You've then got to move. You've got to do something. You've got to do something. So if you're feeling angry, you want to do something using your arms. So again, if I'm thinking, right, if we're kind of housebound now and we're feeling uptight and frustrated and wound up, okay, so the emotion is, right, I'm into this fight response. That means that my body's going to be pushing all of my energy into my arms, my shoulders, my upper body. How can I expend that? So now we're thinking, right, upper body workouts. So, most gyms might use battle ropes.
Yep.
Brilliant stress reliever. We don't have those at home, but you do have a duvet. Now, if you do the same battle rope action like you're trying to get a duvet on your bed, do that for 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah.
You're going to be pretty chilled afterwards. You're going to be pretty knackered as well.
Yeah.
So it's just a way of expressing that feeling of
releasing that tension.
Out on your duvet. So was that?
Releasing that tension that's...
Releasing the tension. So you have to release it. Remember that any kind of stress or anxiety is your brain getting your body ready to interact with the environment around you. And it's when you don't do it that it then becomes a chronic issue. So if we express it, then you release it. So taking it out on your duvet is a really simple way of expressing that anger. If you're feeling like you just want to run away and escape, well, this is when you go for your walk or you get your legs involved. So it's when you want to go for a run or go for a bike ride or step ups, squats, anything leggy is going to get your legs doing what they're trying to get you to do.
Makes sense.
And if you feel stuck, indecisive, procrastinating, well, now we're talking yoga or stretching or meditation. Allowing yourself for your body to calm down, to stop, to see where you are, to get some clarity about what you want and where you're going to go, and then to go and do it. So a lot of people make a mistake with meditation, especially, of not acting on what they've allowed to happen. So you've got to get that clarity and then you've got to go do it. But again, it's like using those reactions. So if you can see fight, flight, freeze as your base levels of stress, well, how can I use it? And get rid and express it. Make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
Awesome.
You just basically covered that. I said one of them was how important is fitness as a coping mechanism to alleviate the stress and maintain the routine. So I suppose that's what you've just covered with the whole upper body. Yeah, absolutely.
But also as well, we said before about using contrast as a real key for staying sane. So making sure that you've kind of got that with your training as well. So if I think about some of the clients I've got right now, so I've got quite a few accountants who I work with. So obviously December, January is their peak season.
Mm-hmm.
So their stress levels are right up here. So I want to get some contrast with them. So when their stress is up here, I don't want to then physically add to the stress. So I'm going to bring them down to get a little bit of contrast. So we'll still do that expressive stuff, but we'll tailor it down a little bit. When those same guys are July, August, in their quietest times of the year, that's when I'm going to thrash them. That's when they're going to get smashed.
Because they've got the capacity to take it on.
Exactly. So if you're really under high pressure, high stress because of work, we want to kind of almost counteract that with your exercise and your training. So right now, if you're bored all day, now's the time to smash the training.
Yeah.
Because you've got that contrast.
Yeah.
Between the two. But if you're mega high pressure, you just worked, someone in the NHS right now, just on a 15-hour shift, more pressure than you can imagine, them coming home doing a HIIT workout. No. Now we're talking yoga, Pilates, stretch, Tai Chi, that kind of workout, so they can still do something. So they're not, again, just vegging out on the sofa. They can still do stuff, but it's in contrast to how their days be.
Yeah.
Someone who's stuck at home on their own, bored, nothing to do, oh, you've got to go for it.
Yeah.
You've got to absolutely go for it. So when you do your high intensity workouts, right, you squat lower than anybody else.
Yeah. I must admit, there's in a group that are doing 2-3 classes a day, I think for that very reason, that they've got that time and capacity to do so. So they make the most of the fact that, right, I can structure my day around these classes and do bits in between. So it's working quite well that way.
And it's just keeping that structure.
Yeah.
It's keeping that absolute commitment to do something, to be somewhere, to be part of a team, be part of a unit.
Yeah. That's why I've always said mental training works the best, because it's that appointment in the diary. There's no escape from it. It's the, I'm knocking on your door to put 3 paces, or you're coming to the gym to see me. And that is the whole, you're not going to not turn up. Whereas if it's you've got to do it off your own back, then you can procrastinate, you can push it to the side.
I'll just do the HIIT thing first. I'll just do this first. I'll do it tomorrow. So again, if we think about, again, self-esteem and feeling good about yourself, you can raise your self-esteem and your self-confidence by making and keeping more promises. Again, it goes back to that trust element. If you make a promise to get up tomorrow at 7 a.m. for a workout and you don't do it, you've just broken a promise to yourself. Yeah. So you're chipping away at that level of trust you have with you. Yeah. And very often people who do struggle with health and well-being have low levels of trust in themselves. They don't believe they're going to see something through. Yeah. So again, if you can keep more promises, right? If you are going to be there at 12 o'clock for a workout, you be there at 12 o'clock for a workout. And you've kept a promise. And the more promises you make, the more promises you keep, the higher your self-esteem goes. When you back out of stuff and go, oh, I can't be bothered. Yeah. Now you've broken a promise.
Having that friend that always ditches you. You'll only you'll ask for so many times, but then you won't bother asking again because you know that it can happen. So
you just know that they're not going to turn up, or they're going to be an hour late. So why bother? You just don't. And then you get stressed by them, right? But if you've got that friend who turns up when they say they're going to do what they say they're going to do, and they're predictable, and you can have some fun with them, right? That's how you build trust. Yeah. And then the more trust you have, then you have more love. Yeah. And then you feel better. And then you don't need to find that feeling better at the bottom of a bottle of wine or the last piece of cheesecake. Yeah. Because you feel better. Yeah.
That was the...
I had a question come in last night. So it said, with structure and routine not as it was, how do we stop ourselves slipping into old eating habits that we use to cope with stress and frustration. I think we kind of covered that, haven't we, pretty much?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, the one that I've got here is, do you feel that drink, smoking, caffeine, etc., I suppose stimulants, are going to be relied upon more as a avoidance behaviour? Yeah. That people are going to turn to sort of, I've seen the memes kicking around that I'm either going to end up coming out of this in good shape or as an alcoholic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that
because it's trying to create one of those emotional needs we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
It's trying to create that feeling of certainty. I know how I feel after that cigarette.
Yeah.
I know how that pizza makes me feel.
Yeah.
So it's kind of back to how can I create that in a different way?
Yeah.
And how can I preempt it so it's not got to 8 o'clock, I've missed all of those today, and the only way left I've got to do it is to see what's in the fridge.
Mm.
And then because you're stressed, it's then, I can't be bothered. What's the easiest?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know when you feel good, you can open the fridge up. There could be nothing left in there, but you can make a masterpiece. When you're feeling stressed and tired, your fridge can be stocked.
Yeah.
But you're going for the quickest, easiest thing you can find because you can't be bothered.
Mm. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
That if we think about, if we kind of summarize the whole thing down to it, stress is about managing your nervous systems. There's a stress system, there's a relaxation system. Both are important, but we need to be balanced. And if you're chronically stressed the whole time and you're not recovering, then you're not going to be thinking straight. And then you make bad decisions. So even if we're not in lockdown times, the aim is to always be in the relaxation, recovery, recharge part of that nervous system more. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. The more time you can spend in there, the healthier you are, period. When you're parasympathetic more and your body's open to change, it means you can train harder, you eat better, you sleep better, you think clearer, feel calmer, and you're you. When you're in the stress system, your priority is about protection. Protecting what you've got. Not about development, it's about, right, let me keep hold of what I've got, and I'm going to do that either by hiding what I've got, running away, or fighting and protecting it.
Yeah. And
that stuff you've got can be physical stuff, or it can be that emotional stuff we talked about all the way through.
Yeah.
So I'm going to protect that level of certainty I've got by being obsessive about things, micromanaging people, stressing when somebody does things that I can't predict.
Yeah.
It's a level of certainty that you can't control. So then you get even angrier because you're trying to create that level of certainty. The more time you're in that sympathetic system as opposed to the parasympathetic system, the more your body's going to get sick. And if and when you are exposed to this virus, it means you're going to suffer more.
Yeah.
Because your body is already under pressure. It's already stressed. The things that keep you stressed: shitty food, lack of exercise, poor sleep, too much negativity, lack of exercise, indecision, being argumentative, watching the news all day is all things that's going to keep you in that stress system. So all the while it's depleting your level of immunity. Your immune system is getting battered. So then when you get a virus on top of that, that's when you get really sick. If you're in the parasympathetic one, which you trigger by decent food, real food.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of water to keeping your hydration levels up. Good regular exercise that's balanced. Meditation to allow your brain to slow down. Good quality sleep. Time outdoors. Lots of vitamins, minerals, nourishment, nutrition. Then your body's really happy. It doesn't need to protect or fight, and it just develops and grows.
Yeah.
And then your immune system is optimal. So you can then get a dose of corona and you'll probably fight it off in a day or two because you're more chilled out.
Yeah.
So all those strategies, meditation works great because it does slow you down. It gives your body a chance to recover, a chance to recharge. All the nutrition, the fitness, all those emotional needs we talked about, all help you feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, if there's nothing else, is just to know that there's two systems. If you're struggling and you're overthinking, and you're stressed, and you're worried, and you're panicked, and you're uptight, and you're angry, and you're defensive, you're in the stress one.
Yeah.
That's doing you more harm. Especially if you're stressed and you then have a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Or some junk food, right?
Yeah.
Now you've compounded it even more. Your body's already struggling, and now you've given it a load of junk to deal with.
Yeah. And then you go down the guilt route as well. If I shouldn't have had that.
Yeah. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. We can talk in a different session about the kind of brain areas that dictate what you do. But yeah, guilt and shame and embarrassment are like when you satisfied a need, that need has been satisfied, and now you're thinking clearly again.
Yeah.
And then you get the, why did I do that?
Yeah.
But in the moment, all that you're concerning about is fulfilling one of those needs.
Yeah.
And then I'll do it later.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have
so
it
right now. Yeah, I'll do it later. I'll just feel good now, and I'll sort it out later. And we're good to go. But that's probably one for a different session. We can talk about that some other time.
Yeah.
Because, we've been going for well over an hour.
I know. Yeah.
For two introverts who don't like talking too much, I think we've done quite well.
I think the last thing we do, there's a couple of guys on, so we can just open it up if there is any questions. But I think
absolutely
we covered a lot of it.
If not, then I'm in the group anyway.
As well. Yeah. So yeah, So I said to her, "Do you want me to help you?"
Different conversation there.
I think so. Yeah. So I'm in the group. So if anybody's got any questions after this, post up in the comments, and I'll just log on and answer them. But I'm more happy to come back next week, and we'll carry on going. So there's loads more we can talk about.
Yeah.
So, awesome. All right.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Thanks very much. It's given me some insight anyway, so
good stuff.
All
right. What I'll try and do, give me a couple of days. I'll kind of write up a bit of a summary.
Yeah.
I'll post up a kind of PDF because we have covered a lot today.
Yeah.
I really don't want to stress people out by too much information. So if you give me a couple of days, I'll do a bit of a summary of what we covered, and then post it up as a PDF in the files, and then
that'd be awesome.
So we can open up more questions or do more sessions after that.
Yeah, excellent work.
All right, okay, buddy. Good to talk.
Yeah, speak to you soon, buddy.
Buddy, bye, buddy.